I'm wearing an ocarina right now. You have 3 seconds to spot it. It is this little guy, the Infinitesimal by Songbird. The Infinitesimal is a 6-hole sopranino pendant in the key of D from Songbird. This thing is tiny, only a little over an inch in diameter and 3/4 of an inch in height, or about 3 centimeters in diameter and 2 centimeters in height. The Infinitesimal comes in 8 colors, mine being the matte metallic luster, and it's $40 on Songbird. Use code ANDY10 for a discount. And the neck strap is really nifty because you can adjust the tightness so much that it could even be a wrist strap. The instrument itself is a 6-hole pendant with the range of an octave and change. I say an octave and change instead of an octave and a specific amount because the notes above 1 octave are really inconsistent and sometimes just don't work. That's at least an issue with the specific ocarina that I received. So here's a scale. And it's worth noting that you can get a note or two below the octave by tilting the ocarina downwards and having your bottom lip slightly cover the fipple hole. This is a really useful technique for any small pendant ocarina where the fipple hole is close to your mouth. And here's a quick song. Here are my thoughts. First, the Infinitesimal has a very delicate breath curve. It seems that because the instrument itself is so small, it's very, very sensitive to variations in breath pressure. When I did my chromatic scale downward, you'd note that the F sharp and the F almost sounded the same, but that's just because the breath pressure is so very specific for a lot of the notes on it. So the Infinitesimal can feel a little out of tune at times. However, the more I practiced with it, the more consistent the tuning became. So I really think the sensitive breath pressure is something you can practice your way through and isn't necessarily a fault against the instrument itself. Second, I'm really disappointed I couldn't get any notes above the octave. This effectively makes the Infinitesimal a 4-hole for me. That's fine, but I would rather be able to use my thumb holes, because as of now, they don't really matter and just indicate where to put your thumbs. And this is not for lack of trying to get the higher notes above 1 octave to work. I tried holding the ocarina at about 360 degrees of different angles into my mouth. I tried so many adjustments in breath pressure, and no matter what I did, I could not get the notes above the octave to play. And on top of that, the note at the top of the scale, the high D, if I would play for just a little bit, somehow that note would stop working until I reset myself somehow by playing a scale or something. Something like an arpeggio, like. See what I mean? This is likely an issue with the particular instrument that I received. The only 2 reviews for the Infinitesimal on Songbird are 5 stars and glowing. And I get that tiny instruments like this may have a higher margin of error than other ocarinas, but I'm still disappointed I can't play all of the notes. Next, issues with delicate tuning and notes not working aside, I really enjoy the tone of the Infinitesimal. As advertised on Songbird, it does indeed have a bright, clear, and sweet tone. And as the reviews on Songbird do point out, it is far quieter than most soprano ocarinas, which I'm a big fan of. Soprano ocarinas tend to be quite loud and piercing, and this is neither loud nor piercing. Just high. Unless I just love how tiny this is. Like, compare this to my AirPods, it is far, far smaller, which is absurd. I've always loved the idea of wearing an ocarina around all the time as like just a little necklace. And I have done that with my smaller pendants before, but even the Triforce B-flat pendant does have a bit of weight to it. It's more than twice as heavy as the infinitesimal, and it's about twice the size in terms of volume. While I really love the Triforce B-flat pendant and it is one of my very favorite ocarinas, the infinitesimal feels like an actual piece of jewelry, and it's small enough to function that way too. I spent the morning wearing the infinitesimal around my neck, and when it came time to record my review, I thought that I lost it because it was so light that I didn't even notice it around my neck anymore. Whoa. But what's my verdict on the infinitesimal ocarina by Songbird? First off, the infinitesimal is not a perfect ocarina. While the one that I received may have uncharacteristic flaws such as with its issues in high notes and sensitivity and breath pressure, I still weirdly like this ocarina a lot. Like, I don't view the main point of this ocarina to be an instrument for performing with, but rather a tiny, subtle way to bring music with you wherever you go, being an ocarina that actually functions as a necklace, an accessory, a piece of jewelry that's subtle. I could easily wear this ocarina every single day just so that I always have an ocarina on me. It's nowhere near the most impressive sounding ocarina that I have, but it is the most impressively tiny. But that said, I don't recommend the infinitesimal if you're looking for an ocarina to perform with. This will not serve that function. It's very quiet, it's not in a standard key for ensembles, being that it's in the key of D rather than C or G, and it does seem to be prone to flaws in its breath pressure sensitivity and its range. However, if you're looking for an accessory that happens to function as an ocarina, absolutely. As far as subtle pendants go, I would also recommend the Triforce B-flat pendant from Songbird, as well as many other pendants from their selection. That said, the infinitesimal is much smaller, much lighter, and much quieter, so it functions a lot better as an accessory rather than an instrument. I think a lot of Songbird's other pendants are quite solid instruments, so if you choose those over the infinitesimal, you do sacrifice some portability to gain performability. All in all, I think the infinitesimal is really cool, but I am quite conflicted about it. It's a fantastic accessory, but not a great instrument. If you're shopping for ocarinas as performance instruments, to fill gaps in what you need in terms of sound, I would definitely pass on the infinitesimal. But if your expectation is to have a necklace that can play a few notes, I highly recommend it. Let me know what you think about this little guy in the comments. I'd love to know. Is the portability worth the sacrifices you get to performability? Are you interested in buying it? And if so, use my code Andy10 on Songbird. Get 10% off and I get a cut. You help support the channel. And if you want more ocarina thoughts, check out my video where I make a tier list ranking all the ocarinas that I own. It's quite the doozy, but very educational if you're looking to buy new ocarinas. Otherwise, leave a like, subscribe for more, check out my Patreon, watch that video next, and I'll see you next time. Happy tootin'.